next one. This one is from Kitsi LD. Hey, I know this question has been asked a decent amount, but I want to hear from Elliot. Okay, so I have a motivation issue where it takes a lot of willpower to put in volume for me. I love the game, I love studying poker, and I can talk endlessly about poker spots. But when it comes for grinding and putting in action, my mind literally wants to do something else. In fact, I have spent lots of time trying to figure out ways to focus/grind more instead of grinding. I start to tidy my room instead of grinding. I say yes to every social event I get from friends and family. I don't know what to do. Any advice? Thanks in advance.
Yeah, so some interesting stuff here.
Mhm.
First off, I really recommend that players should be working to a schedule that's optimal for them. So you should have a schedule on your calendar that tells you the times that you're choosing to play, when you're studying, when your free time is, when your days off are. You should treat this as if it's a very, very serious job. The money you can make from poker outstrips almost any other job in society, obviously depending on the country that you're living in. But generally, you can make an incredibly impressive wage from poker, and you have to treat it with that level of respect. So, you're saying yes to social invites from your family. You've got to imagine that you're in the same place in society as a surgeon who's running operations, or a lawyer who's going into court, or a stockbroker who's heading into work. Um, that time should be blocked out. There shouldn't really be an option of saying yes to your friends and family. You've got a job to do, and you should consider yourself fired if you can't do your job. So I'm pretty strict with my clients in terms of creating a schedule that works for them, and then repeating that schedule over and over. Not obviously we still need those times for relaxation, but those times for relaxation should be pre-planned, so your friends and family know that you're free on a Friday, or they know that you're free on a Tuesday, the same way as if you had any other six-figure job. Um,
Mhm.
Now, the other side of it is whether this is happening in any way due to any form of fear, so self-sabotage, fear of failure, or fear of success. I've had a lot of clients come to me with this issue who've had very serious downswings in the past. And while things are going okay and they're making enough money to get by, they're not willing to put in the large amount of volume, which there's something holding them back from feeling like there's a risk there that they may go back into the downswing, they may lose. And that can be a big block for a lot of poker players. It might, I mean, I don't know how many of you guys were playing back then, but certainly the Black Friday came up a
Mhm.
lot a few years ago with people where, because it was such a shock to the system, it just put people off putting volume in, and it had a huge impact on a lot of players. So, I would say be really honest with yourself. Is there a fear holding you back from, a previous downswing? Are you worried you're not profitable? Are you worried it's not worthwhile? Or are you fearing success? I've also had clients come to me saying they're uncomfortable with the money they can make. It makes their family uncomfortable that they're earning 4 times more than their dad is earning for working a full-time job. Are you holding yourself back for those sorts of reasons? Um, if there is that sort of situation happening, then that's when working with someone like myself or one of the other mindset coaches in poker or a local therapist is worthwhile, because you need to clear that blockage and accept that anxiety shouldn't be getting in the way. You shouldn't be holding yourself back, especially if you're enjoying the poker as well. There's definitely, I would say it's likely there's something going on here at a deeper level
Mhm.
that's just stopping the progress in the game. I hope that makes sense from that
Yeah,
side.
that makes perfect sense. Elliot, what do you think about like wow, that's gonna be pretty much hard to put in English for me, but okay, I'm gonna try. Like using the appreciation when you love the game, right? Like
Mm.
you can think about it in a way that, damn, I'm so lucky that I can play poker actually. So I gotta use my chance and do everything to kind of maximize the value because everyone knows that poker business. I mean, I'm not even saying that it's dying, but it won't last for next 50
Right.
years probably. So like being really and appreciate the fact that you are in the very moment, you can use your brain power to live really great life. And at this very point, just push it really hard at this very moment.
Yeah, it's something that it's a reality of the game. We don't know how many more years there are left, and we know it is profitable right now. So that's one thing where, I'll tell people, think about 10 years time and looking back at how you're working now and the money that's available right now. What do you want to look back at from 10 years from now? And do you want to see what you're doing today, or would you hope that you would have done better? And, with these sorts of issues, often people start to see the reality, and then they don't want to be looking back in 10 years and seeing that they're working 2 hours a day, but they've got an hourly of $100, and suddenly they're working for, $500, $600 a month. It's something where you really need to take this opportunity very seriously,
Mhm.
but not so seriously that you burn out, because that's just as bad. So we want it's a sustainable schedule, like I was saying. So it needs to have the study in there. It needs to have the breaks in there. I want people to have a schedule that over the year, it's realistic that someone could keep it up. That's better than doing 1 month of chaos
Mhm.
and then burning out and having to take 2 weeks off and hating poker and having no social life and feeling depressed. So I say life balance is important, but we want true professional hours as if you were in another very well high-paid job.
Mhm. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I love that explanation.
Yeah. Ada Jakov just asked, is there any chance for a private meeting with you, Elliot? How to contact you? I will just paste your website
Yeah,
over
on
there,
my
right?
website, there's like a coaching and contact page, and just send me an email through that and we can arrange it all.
Sweet, sweet. I'm going to paste it in a second. Let's jump to the very next question. Fabian Brooks. When I start the day off well, I often seem to cut short sessions in order to book the day win. This is especially so if I've been on a bad run recently. So for example, if my first 30 tournaments I ran at 100 GPV, which is extremely good at spins, I often seem to quit at that point, mean to play another session later, but then get scared and I don't do it. How do I stop doing this?
Okay. Well, one thing that's interesting is he's judging himself by his EV rather than his winnings, which is pretty interesting. It's good from that side. But obviously, you can't manipulate this system. The way, and I think, this is probably going to come up in quite a few of the questions today in terms of the way I try and teach poker players to view the game, should be that you are a casino and you're running roulette effectively, and the fish are your gamblers turning up to play roulette with you. Now, if a casino on their roulette table, they win a load of money from the gamblers over the first half an hour of the evening, they don't then close the casino and kick everyone out,
Mhm.
because the money is made on the EV, the long-term EV. There's going to be these fluctuations where you have some great chip EV and you're crushing, and then there are going to be other times when the cards aren't coming out your way and you won't have any control, and your chip EV is going to be bad, or your winnings, depending on, usually it's the winnings is more of an issue with this winner's top. You really just have to see that a gambler looks at poker in the short term, or any form of gambling in the short term. So blackjack, a gambler is worried about the hand, the gambler is worried about what they're taking home that evening, the casino is worried about their quarterly or their annual results. So you can't manipulate. If you're worrying about your daily results, if you're worrying about a hand, you're effectively gambling. And, we all know as poker players, you don't want to be the gambler in that analogy. So, try and see it that way. It's not relevant if you have 100 chip EV over 30 tournaments. All that's relevant is how you're doing over a month, over 3 months, and really try and change the mindset to, I'm a casino, I'm playing my best, keeping my edge, I'm playing the correct amount of volume for me. Um, and sort of really try and punish yourself if you're worrying about individual hands or games, because that's not how a professional or a casino would look at this situation.
Off to the next one we go. This one's from Albert. Hi, Itrer. How do we give up the ego? Oh, that's gonna
I
be
think
good.
we can kind of
Mm-hmm.
cut this one into the questions because they are kind of different. And
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
so,
Yeah, yeah.
how do you give up the ego? Just
How I give up the ego? I don't give it up. I'm just trying to reduce it, to like the very
yeah,
minimum. But
yeah.
it was hardest part for me actually. When it
Mm.
comes to poker, probably. And yeah, I mean, all the heads-up players get tons of problems with that because of the simple game mechanics when it comes to one versus one poker.
Yeah,
The
it's
spins,
manual, right?
Yeah, true. And spins is like kind of different, but still the ego factor exists, obviously. And I don't know, like simply, it's not that easy to give one solution here because
Yeah, it's
people
extremely
work,
complex thing.
yeah, like people work with all these mindset pros for really long hours to actually figure out what gonna work on each and single one of them because it's totally stat dependent, let's say, for everyone.
Yeah. And also it's a bit of, I think, like acknowledging that you will never give it up completely is also helping a bit, in the sense
Mm-hmm.
that you are having more realistic approach to it.
Mm-hmm.
And so just kind of knowing that ego is always going to be there, but kind of trying to develop skill of catching yourself, getting kind of used by ego, let's say, or like your thoughts being created by your ego.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically the type of feel of tilting. So just kind of try to look for the signs that you are tilted by your ego and try to work on them. Try to understand why given situations tilt you. So like everyone is going to tilt in different situations, or ego will get the upper hand on them in different situations. So try to understand when
Sure.
that happens and can approach it like a part of the game. So strategize about it. Like if I have 5 bad beats in a row, I'm going to tilt this amount of time. So just kind of watch out for it. Or
Mm-hmm.
if I lose 5 heads ups in a row to a reg, I do this and this. So just kind of pay attention that when it happens, you are a bit more vulnerable, and yeah,
Yeah, like
and
basically maybe taking notes while you are starting to tilt gonna
yeah,
gonna be a good start because then you can figure out, read them later and figure out in what exactly, as you mentioned, what exactly tilts you mostly and start working on these like step
yeah,
by step and by elimination simply. That could, yeah, be an idea for sure for starters. After playing many tournaments, what to do to have the same pleasure while playing farther? I guess that was the question.
yeah. I think I asked a similar question once in MindsetTalks, and you spoke about the gratitude to be able
Mm-hmm.
to play, and I think it answers that questions quite well. So
Yeah.
like be kind of try to get as much pleasure and satisfactions from the fact that you play poker. And also keeping in mind that poker doesn't owe you anything, so it doesn't have to make you happy. You just kind of have to do
Mm-hmm.
it for yourself. It's like kind
Yeah.
of create a mindset that just getting better every day and competing with other players makes you happy. If you kind of anchor it with stuff that you can control, it could work. But if you anchor it to your results, then it's not going to really work because you are kind of giving it up to variance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. That's true. The third one is I want when I start the game to be calm and relaxed. Okay. Through the whole session. What I have to do to be like that all the time? Hmm.
Well, you don't want to be like that all the time, basically. there
Yeah.
is there is a kind of spectrum of emotions that you will experience, and you would like to be like in the middle. So let's say imagine like a scale from 0 to 10. 0 being you are completely a robot, and 10 you are on your worst tilt ever. So you want to be somewhere in 5, in the medium. So you don't want to be too lethargic, too sleepy, too calm, and you don't want to be too aggressive or too angry. So you want to be somewhere in the middle, just kind of in the flow. And to get there, sometimes you need to calm yourself down, and sometimes you need to get more pumped up. So also again, like trying to take notice of how you feel and what you can do to have what effect on yourself is gonna go a long way here, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
But
think
for
I
just
think
to be
it's a good answer.
just to get calm and relaxed, I think meditation is the best one.
Mm. Okay, that never
And
works for me, to be honest.
I meditate every day. I think
Uh-huh.
I couldn't imagine now playing without meditation, to be honest. It
Okay, you're
just,
using the headspace?
yeah, using the headspace now like around twice per day.
Uh-huh. You
I
guys can check
won't,
it out for sure.
yeah, we've been speaking about it a lot lately, but it's really good, man. Uh, there's just huge difference in quality of thinking after meditation. and especially if you do it for a long time.
So
It just kind of makes
Go ahead.
it kind of allows you to get in the flow more often and more consistently. And I added it to my routine, and it's just a very good solid part of my routine, I think.
Okay, got you. But like to truly get all the upsides from meditation, you can't really do it for like 2 days and then be like, bam, okay, I'm meditating. That's cool shit.
No, of course not. It has to be consistent.
Mm-hmm.
And in the beginning, you will get the biggest gains because it's with everything. It's going to, the law of diminishing returns. So if you've never meditated, the first few months are going to give you a lot of difference. And then keeping it up is going to be good enough, I guess.
Okay, got you. What is the secret to be a very good player on the top? What is the secret?
I think you just have to be a very good player, So I don't know what's the secret.
I'm going to tell you the secret.
Being smart.
That's one thing, but you are already you're watching this video. But I'm going to say discipline. Discipline is the key, actually.
Okay. It's pretty rich coming from you.
Hey, I mean, I was extremely disciplined poker player, I'm going to say. Regardless of the weird and goofy life.
No, that's true. No, I mean, you grinded a lot. I mean, obviously kidding, just this amazing player. Yeah. So.
When we know we are ready to play more tables. That's a good one.
Yeah. Well, I actually spoke about this question with Maria, and she said that she thinks that it's when you are having most of your game is automated and you are comfortable with it enough to just add more. And I kind of agree with this answer.
Yeah, like the more the decisions are just basically are automatical for you at some point, right? Because of the fact that you are playing multiple hands and you are gaining more experience, etc., etc.
The only thing is you just have to have some kind of background with your winnings and being confident that your decisions are good there.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Because we're not talking about just clicking as fast as possible to make the decisions. You just kind of know. You don't have to go through the mental process of figuring out what to do. And if you play like this most of the time and you feel you have more kind of mental space or mental energy, you can just add more tables.
Yeah, that's true. Also, you know for a fact that you can play more tables when you are playing like 2-3 and you're watching a TV show on another screen. That means,
for example,
you definitely can play more tables.
Yeah.
Okay, next one is from Proactivek. These are the traveling questions.
The travel questions,
Big respect for your work you are constantly putting out. I would like to ask you a few questions about traveling. If it helps something, I'm 21, moving out of the country for the first time. Gamble, feel free to respond to. Okay, will do. What location would you recommend for a poker player who wants to start traveling as a first one, and why?
Well, I think the easiest one is going to be Mexico. Mexico or in general the American countries. I think maybe Medellin will be very close when it comes to the how easy it is to live here. But definitely Mexico, like to fall in love with traveling, would be a great place.
Okay, what's the situation with visas over there?
It's perfect. You just arrive and you get a stamp for 180 days, and it's you can renew it upon arrival, and virtually you can stay as long as you want, basically.
Okay,
and if you overstay your visa, the penalties are only monetary and they are super low. I've heard of cases of people overstaying the visa for 2 years and paying like $200.
Okay, so
whereas in Asia it would go to it's basically meaningless, and it really feels like it. I mean, they want tourists from abroad to stay and spend money and have fun, and everything is done in a way to to facilitate this. So it's it really feels welcoming, this place, and the service is amazing. Food is great. The place is beautiful. The time zone is, you couldn't have a better time zone, I think, for playing with the PokerStars EU. It's just a very solid all-around place. So Playa del Carmen in Mexico.
Yeah, definitely sweet place. There is a question like about the elaboration. It's okay. So
monthly expenses. I think so. Vaccines, you don't need any vaccines to Mexico. Only thing, some countries in Asia need the yellow fever vaccine. But just to be sure, I would recommend you to check any country that you go by yourself as well. Accommodation, it's in Mexico. It was
Mexico, right?
It was a bit of a hassle in Mexico because it's a kind of what's the word? Kind of seasonal place. So the weather is very good all year around, but in Polish summer it's extremely hot, and the place gets completely crowded out in the Christmas months and the next couple months. So from December till late February, it's extremely difficult to find a place to stay. So if you go there, I would recommend to start looking for a flat now, or like a month earlier at least, to have it ready there. I've heard of cases of people looking for flats for a month or two. I had to stay in a short-term flat for a month before I moved into my main flat there. So yeah, doing some research about it earlier is good. Mostly real estate agencies and websites for locals to rent. But even from the websites for locals, you will still contact the agencies. So yeah, you're gonna have to deal with agencies most of the time because people that own houses there are pretty lazy when it comes to renting out. Nobody wants to deal with it anyway. So you're gonna have to deal with the agencies, which are professional. They are really good. Yeah.
Okay.
Also, you can always just arrive there and walk around and call the numbers on the flats on the windows. But I've never done this. I think it's a bit. It's not optimal time-wise. Just better to figure out something before you arrive.
Yeah, agencies
and expenses.
video.
Yeah, especially for poker players, I think it's if you don't really mind paying more, like $100 more than you would, and you will save a lot of time by using them. So the monthly expenses, it just depends how you want to live. You can spend basically as little as $1,000, $1,500, and you can spend as much as you can, basically. Depends what you want to do and how hard you party.
Yeah, there are some possibilities out there. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Pretty much some questions about Thailand/Southern Asia.
I've never been there, so I think you can say.
Okay, so I've been in Thailand 2 times, and one time we've been living over there with Kochfi, our player, for about a month. And yeah, I mean, it's definitely a sweet place, but comparing it to Mexico, I wouldn't necessarily pick Thailand as a first country if you're 21 to travel. There's just like so much degen vibe over there that when you're super young, I mean, you would have to be extremely disciplined to stick to a grind over there. Also, everything is cheap as fuck in Thailand. So that's another thing that you simply can party all the time. And I mean, obviously this whole place is just beautiful, right? You have no problems with visas. You are not taking care about vaccines at all. Accommodation. We've been staying at hotels, just constantly moving from one point to another. But I think that you don't have any problems when it comes to renting a place over there. The agencies works perfectly fine from what I've heard. At least in Thailand, I don't know how it works. I think the Southern Asia might be just a little bit worse when it comes to renting something. I heard that a lot of players had a lot of hassle basically over there while trying to get out an apartment.
Yeah, what you said about the Dejan life, it's kind of it depends also what you want to do with this trip. If you want to have fun and sightsee and etc., then I think Southeast Asia or Mexico are going to be best options. But if you want to focus on playing poker, getting better, learning, and this kind of stuff, then probably something that's less party heavy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you definitely can pick some parts of Thailand which are more chilled than, let's say,
Yeah.
Bangkok or Phuket.
Yeah,
So
just go to one of the islands or something like this, I guess.
island would work, yeah. There's also a popular place in the north
Chiang
of
Mai?
Bangkok, Chiang Mai. Yeah, exactly. A lot of poker players pick that place because it's really calm, from what I heard, and
Mm-hmm.
it's also really cheap. People speak really good English over there. Good food. So yeah, that could be the place. But I not as a
Uh,
personal
yeah.
recommendation for sure. Never been there.
Proactivek asked about Spanish in Mexico. You don't need to speak Spanish in Mexico.
But
In
if you
Playa del
know
Carmen,
Spanish, can't hurt you.
it helps.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course, it will help you to know the native language, but it's not like you're going to be completely unable to deal with anything. And people are super helpful. They're really kind of going out of their way to help you like figure the stuff that you need to deal with out. Like my real estate agent, she helped me set up the internet, for example, because it was also pretty close to my house, but she just went there with me and done everything for me. So,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, so maybe you kind of need to speak a bit of Spanish, but you can manage without. I don't speak Spanish at all. I lived
Nah,
for
you
one and a
do,
half
come
year
on.
now,
You do a little bit.
a little bit, but I cannot do most. Like well, I can do basic stuff like order food
Mm-hmm.
or I don't know, but like to have a normal conversation, I cannot really.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
that one is really interesting. We saw these questions before
Yeah.
and actually wondered and talk about it. Would you recommend traveling alone or with a group of poker players? Why? Okay, so
Mhm.
upsides and
If you want
downsides.
to start.
Okay, I can go with upsides of traveling alone. Uh, I get none because I've never traveled alone. I was always
Uh,
traveling with a group of poker players.
I did travel alone to my first destination, to Malta. I traveled completely alone without knowing anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And it was interesting in a sense that well, I did already travel before to Spain for Erasmus alone.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of had this experience already, but you kind of learn to deal with everything on by yourself, and it's kind of life skills wise. And also you have a lot of time for poker, for focusing on learning poker and playing, and there are not many distractions. But you get a bit lonely, and you kind of have to go out of your way to meet people and kind of have some fun activities to do on the weekends or whatever. So that's the downside. So
Yeah.
I think for me the best way would be to have some friends in the living next to you, close to you, and just hang out with them a couple times per week. But I always prefer grinding by myself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's again really personal aspect.
Yeah,
Some
it's also
people,
very yeah.
yeah, because like some. Okay. What's going on? Why my PC died? Oh, okay. I wasn't using the mouse, and apparently everything turned off. Wow, that was
uh,
scary.
yeah, we still have you here.
Sweet, sweet. So, yeah, like we talked, basically all super individual kind of a thing. Some
Yeah,
people have no problems while playing, let's say, like 4 people in a room, grinding stations, and yeah, sitting in a one big tramp together. That's not a big deal for them, and they play really good. They can focus, etc. But for some people, it's a big distraction, and yeah, then definitely wouldn't recommend if that would tilt you, or let's say you would play worse game because of the fact that you are sitting
yeah,
with someone. Yeah, just I would go and rent an apartment alone pretty much, but still
yeah.
hang on with guys wherever
Yeah,
you
and
like.
living with, I think the best. I'm kind of super lucky in the sense that I can live with my girlfriend now, and
Mm-hmm.
we've been already living together for a year and a half or a year and something. Well, it's really good to live with someone who doesn't play poker because
Mm-hmm.
you can get outside of poker way easier. So if you stay in a house with 4 poker players, or you live with just 1 poker player, you're gonna speak poker basically all the time, and you're gonna have very similar perspective on those things. And it actually helps to speak with someone who doesn't really treat poker that seriously and who's not in it that much, because it gives you another perspective on stuff.
Yeah, definitely. That's a really good point, because like taking break while you are playing, living with poker players isn't necessarily a break, because you're going out in conflict and talking poker, like you mentioned.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's good for your probably for the learning curve, but it's just ups and downs.
Yeah, ups and downs, exactly. I think it's definitely worth actually trying living with poker players.
Probably,
But it's really important to create a group of good people. And what do I mean by that? I mean people who really want to push it together and not make a party house instead of a grinding house, because a lot of times it happens like that.
Yeah. They just have to be aligned with what you want to do. I mean, there's nothing wrong with partying and playing poker just, twice per week if it's what you want. But it has to be like a aware decision that you take the responsibility for, and you just want to do it, so you do it. I think what's important is to be very selective when it comes to with whom you want to travel or live with. Like, never settle for living with someone who you don't like or you don't want to hang out with, or who you think is going to be bad for you in the long term. So like it's better to just move out and pay for another house for a month than to be stuck and get kind of in bad spots. So I think be very selective, but figure it out for yourself what you think is going to work.
Yeah. Okay, the next question is, what was the best place? Okay. So you mentioned it, Mexico, right? Playa del Carmen.
Yeah, I think Mexico. And besides that, it's very close with other places. I really enjoyed Medellin, to be honest, as well. The time zone and weather is really good. There's quite a bit of stuff to do. The only downside is there is no beach here. If Medellin had a beach, it would be my favorite city, I think. It's also extremely easy to live and just pretty.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Any general practical tips about traveling as a poker pro?
Kind of get used to create some kind of routine when you move. So have like a list of things that you need to do before and after you arrive in a place. So like try to Google one day before you arrive where you're going to buy your screen, your desk, your chair, how is the internet, where you can get the backup internet, and try to arrange it in a way that you just get it done at once when you arrive. And also be aware that changing to a different place is going to produce some kind of stress. So you're going to be playing a bit, you're going to be more likely to tilt for the first few days before you leave, and after you arrive it's just normal. And and have fun with it. I mean, for me, this is one of the best things about poker, that you just can pack your stuff and go to the other side of the world and play there.
Yeah, that's definitely sick upside of playing poker as a pro.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah.
I think this question fit mindset, as it can be very motivating and help with the practical side. Thanks for your time. Okay, that's that.
Yeah, I definitely think traveling can be very motivating.
And hello, Tommy, Angelo, an honor to have you here. First one, could you play us something on your banjo to get us into the right mood for this mindset talks? Okay.
But I'm assuming that he's asking this because he's seen some of my Run It Once videos, and there's banjo going on there. Also, it's really funny that you've asked about this, because this question's on here. I'm going to actually use the banjo in some of these answers.
Okay.
Not playing it. You'll see what I mean. Let's see. Well, happy to.
Whoa. Okay. Okay. That was great. That was great. Okay, I'm gonna be honest with you. I was not expecting that you're gonna pull out that banjo. I thought that you're gonna go with like some kind of a funny, dodgy answer, like okay.
Really? Oh no, actually, that is. This is where I'm sitting right now is my desk, which is basically my dining room table,
Uh-huh.
and that right there is where my banjo lives.
That's
Never
sick.
too far. It didn't
That's
take too
sick.
much effort.
Okay. Second one is, did you ever had that feeling you have? Oh, okay. This is a serious question. Did you ever
Actual
had
question.
that? Yeah, actual question. Did you ever had the feeling you have lost your love to the game, or some longer period you really didn't have the desire to play? If yes, how did you overcome that?
The answer is yes, many, many times. And how I overcame it was not in a conscious manner, just by natural ebb and flow of life. The love would come back eventually. But
Mm-hmm.
I want to just give a little backstory on that so you guys know where I'm coming from. I'm 58 years old. I started grinding in 1990 when I was 32 at that time, but I'd already been playing recreationally with my buddies and everything for like 15 years. So I got really serious in 87 about poker when I read Hold'em for Advanced Players by Skalansky and Malmuth. That's when I started adopting the professional mindset. And then in 1990, I started grinding for a living. But at that time, there was zero emphasis on mental stuff. I mean, none. There were barely any poker books that were really good coming out at all. And we were all on our own. We mean anyone trying to make a living at it or trying to get good at it. We're totally on our own on this mindset stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole idea of how did you overcome that? In the modern world of looking at poker and mindset, that's kind of a normal question. It's like, okay, here's a mental problem. What do you do about it? Back then, we didn't even think in terms of mental problems. You know what I mean? It just wasn't
Mm-hmm.
even what we thought about. It was just basically pain and more pain and occasional periods of run good and not pain. And
Mm-hmm.
that was it, back and forth. So during the really bad runs, yeah, I lost the love of the game. I lost complete confidence, total depression, despondency, whatever. Now, that's in terms of emotional swings. In terms of love of the game of poker, I don't think I've ever lost that. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even during the depressed times when I didn't want to play or felt I could never win, I always felt that poker was the greatest thing that humans ever came up with, and I still kind of feel that way.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, you're going to hear more about my story as we go, but when things turned around for me in 2003, after 13 years of grinding, when I started meditating, met my current wife, and kind of, you know, I went from being a complete degen to a clean lifestyle, you know, normal, healthy lifestyle. And, you know, I know I'm a lot older than you guys, and so that's kind of a natural progression when people get up in their, you know, 40, 50 to like turning around a little bit. But what happened with me when it comes to the poker pain is because I've been through so much of it with no awareness whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
But when I finally started adopting a little bit of awareness about what was really going on in there, it was kind of an explosion because
Mm-hmm.
I'd done so much learning the hard way. And so now, when it comes to back to this question, the love of the game, when I play now, I basically play 3 or 4 weeks a year. That's all I do. I go to Vegas and I play for 5 days. I don't play locally grinding anymore. I'm basically writing all the time as my primary thing.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, maintaining the love of the game while I'm playing is kind of one of my objectives. So I'm down there playing, and let's say I'm playing for 4 or 5 hours. I'm getting no hands. I'm losing every pot or whatever. It's really dry and dull and boring, or what used to be boring. This is where I'm like, I actually remind myself how awesome it is to be playing poker at that moment. This is my mental tricks that I use all the time.
The appreciation, right?
Exactly. One of the ways I put it is the appreciation. It's like, I have several little, mantra kind of things I tell myself, but one of them has to do with gratitude. And if I'm doing something really good, like eating a really great meal or taking a nice warm shower, sometimes I'll tell myself, on behalf of the people that don't get to experience this, I'm going to appreciate it extra. I'm going to really appreciate this. And I think of that with poker. Like, I was in Vegas just 2 weeks ago. It was a Tuesday afternoon. I'm sitting there, I'm playing with it was actually like 11 in the morning. I get in this game, PLO game, 4 old guys. And I sit down, and I'm an old guy now, and I said, so you guys been here all night? Which was hilarious, because I knew they all just got there, right? and so here we are playing it, and this one guy gets in the game, and he's kind of complaining and moaning a little bit. And I'm thinking, here we are, it's Tuesday afternoon, right? We're playing poker.
Yeah.
How bad can it be?
Yeah.
So I do maintain a strong love of the game.
Uh-huh. Sure. I love that answer. And actually, you brought an interesting topic. You just slightly touched it, but you mentioned that back in the day, people were not actually aware of all the mindset problems. It was just a pain. That's pretty much a quote. And don't you think that everyone actually in our poker environment tend to kind of look for the mindset problems just a little bit too often? And this is like kind of excuse for being maybe lazy even from time to time. Like, oh no, I have a mindset problem. I don't know. I can't focus. It's just like excuse for laziness.
Excuse for laziness in terms of not improving the betting skill or betting the strategy. Lazy. Yeah, that could very well be. That could very well be. That wouldn't surprise me at all, because it is a tendency for people in general to pass the blame to something else. That's just a natural defense mechanism or whatever, rather than saying, okay, it's my fault. So that could very well happen, to just say, yeah, I've got a mental problem, and that's my problem.
This is like super interesting, like, because everyone started talking about mindset more and more in like last few years, right? It was super undiscovered area when it comes to poker. And during last few years, we can get like articles, professionals talking about it, just all over the place if someone is really into that and want to look for it. And people might kind of start overthinking really simple things. And do you think that, like, you're a mental coach, obviously, right? Do you see it often as a problem?
Well, I haven't been doing that much coaching the last few years. Okay, but I've done so much. The fact that it's become a little more mainstream now, I've been coaching this stuff for a while, but I don't have much experience that I can recall with people, say, overthinking their mental stuff to where it's a problem. But I could certainly see how that could happen. And that happens in a lot of areas, I think, where you can overthink it, and then then you lose touch with just the natural flow of things. That can happen with betting strategy. One of the questions I think coming up is about that, because everybody, standard theory says I should do this, but my instinct says I should do this. Which one should you do? Getting a little bit ahead of ourselves there, but yeah, I don't have direct experience with what you're saying with people overthinking the thinking part of their problem, but I can certainly see how that would happen.
Yeah. Okay. Got you. Sweet. Okay. Next one is from Kill You If You Play. Hi. What books / mindset psychology are you recommending to read? Besides yours, obviously. Yours are always first.
Well, yeah. Well, the one I just said, which is about meditation. Well, it's actually about a lot of things, but yeah, read that one. In terms of poker books, I'm friends with Jared. We meet at the World Series, have coffee. I've read parts of both of his books, and Elliot. These guys, I've been on Elliot's program. We've never met, but I really trust them. I think they're coming from a good place of really wanting to help people. In terms of poker, well, Al Schoonmaker is also a good friend of mine. I don't know if you guys know him. He's an old fuddy-duddy.
A Schoonmaker? I don't recall that name.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Well, he's written some psychology books. But this says books about mindset psychology, not necessarily poker related. You know what? I don't read. I wouldn't say that genre. I read about meditation books, which is about mindset and psychology, but it's from the Buddhist angle. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So in terms of recommending books there, the Thich Nhat Hanh is, there's one book that he wrote that is the book that first changed my life called Miracle of Mindfulness. So his name is, he's a Vietnamese.
Sorry, could you repeat? Miracle of...
The Miracle of Mindfulness.
Okay, gotcha.
So the word mindfulness is the key word in Buddhist / meditation teaching, and it means conscious awareness, non-judgmental awareness. Non-judgmental is a big part of it. So if you walk outside and you listen to the birds on purpose, for that split second, however long it lasted, you were mindful. Our normal condition is mindless, where we're just bounding around. You know, we don't really see or hear what's going on. So mindfulness is a key word, and that book is a great book. If anybody wants to really learn the heart of Buddha's teaching, read the book by Thich Nhat Hanh called The Heart of Buddha's Teaching. That really teaches a lot about it.
Okay.
And so what books had the biggest impact on your life? Those two books I mentioned. Those three books. Now, in terms of non-meditation books, the books that have had the biggest influence on my life are Origin of Species by Charles Darwin. I think it's had the biggest effect on all of our lives. But in the area of evolution and science, Richard Dawkins, who he tends to write now about religious stuff, but he used to be the greatest teacher of evolution. In his first book, The Selfish Gene, and his second book, The Extended Phenotype. These books, they sound very scientific, and they are about evolution, but to me, they teach about how everything works, about a deep understanding of how everything works in the long range, you know, how slow progress. And I think by understanding the core of things about what causes things to be how they are, I think that is another way to reduce pain and reduce suffering and reduce anxiety, because our reaction to it is a little more rational and analytical rather than, that's fucked up, I hate that. And so, I mean, really, even though these are scientific concepts, I think they've had a big impact on my ability to sort of feel the emotional ups and downs of life without getting all caught in the muck.
And that's kind of...
idol? Oh, yeah. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was about to read out loud that very first question, actually. Who's your idol and who motivated you the most?
Now, in what area?
I guess it was just like general kind of a question, you know? Okay,
well, in general, it has to start with musicians.
Okay, let's go.
I was a full-time musician for 10 years in the 80s. I played for a living before I played poker. So I've had 3 careers: music, poker, and now writing. But I mean, I was raised in the age of rock and roll, and so Led Zeppelin and the Who, you know, John Bonham, the drummer, John Lennon, every one of those guys, Neil Young, they have and still inspire me. It's almost like guys like Neil Young. It's like, you know, they inspired me in their youth, and now they're inspiring me in how to grow old, having a good time. Right? I mean, when I was raised, my parents and their friends and everything, it was all, you know, the grown-up mentality just seemed so stodgy and everything. And now it's like the rock and rollers are letting us know, you know, you're allowed to just party until you die. I mean, mentally, you know.
Sure, yeah.
And it's fun. So I'm always motivated by big rockers, and also from a writing standpoint, they inspire me and motivate me even now. In terms of poker, I had early on, there was a guy, I don't even know if he's still around, a guy named Joe Moon, who used to play out on the East Coast, who I just thought, man, he is just like the perfect poker pro. I want to be just like, this is when I was just starting. It was like 91. And then Bobby Hopp, who is a famous old-time player who died not too long ago. Ray Z, who is, you know, 2+2, David Sklansky, Mason Malmuth, and then Ray Z. He was when I was very active on the 2+2 forums from about 2000 and 2004, he was very active then, and he used to come down to the Bay Area to play, and we would meet. And he's another one who I just kind of worshipped and wanted to model myself after. Because this is always what I've done at the table when I was first learning. I would look at the guys that I feared the most, and I was like, okay, what are they doing that makes me so afraid of them? And I did find some commonalities. I know your entire clientele is online, right?
Yeah.
I mean, none of these guys play live, basically, so I won't go into any of that. But I guess the same thing would apply online. If you see a player and you read what he writes and how he teaches, and you're like, I'm going to be like that guy. I think that's a good way to learn, actually.
Yeah,
sure. For.
Yeah, exactly. Big plus one. It's always about like getting the best things from like sucking out the part of a brain that you like from someone's game, for example, right?
And then merge it with
like
you.
That. Yeah.
Merge it with you. Yeah.
Top notch, of course. Thank you very much. What books had the biggest impact on your life? Who is your idol? Who motivated you the most? Wow. All very, very big questions. Okay, so let's go to the mindset psychology books. I'm actually going to pull up at the very end of the Mental Game of Poker 2, I listed out a bunch of books, and I want to make sure that I don't miss any because there's a bunch of good ones here. So give me a sec. Okay. There we go. Okay. Books about psychology. I mean, so first off with psychology books, there's so many different aspects of psychology. So you kind of have to ask yourself the question, what is it that you're most interested in? For example, I just started rereading again Fooled by Randomness. It's not really like a typical psychology book, but I think for poker players it's an important one because it goes into variance, and there's a lot of statistics-ish involved, and I think it's a really good book. So I'm going to recommend that one, even though it's not a typical psychology book. But those of you who are familiar with my work know that understanding more about variance is something that actually can create a lot of mental game stability, a lot of psychological stability. And when you're fighting up against this thing that you think you can control, even subconsciously, a lot of problems can emerge from that. Let's see, what else? Okay, so if we're talking about the zone, peak performance, Flow is a great book. It's called The Flow, The Psychology of Optimal Experience. The name is Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, and obviously it's a complex name. I'm going to send that to you in chat there. I like Mindsets. Mindsets is an interesting book. It describes the difference between what's called a growth mindset and a fixed mindset. I think in general, the book is really good theoretically, but I think it falls short a little bit practically speaking. But I think if you were to take concepts that I talk about in my books and apply it to it, then I think it's you've got yourself a great concept. I actually just interviewed this guy for my podcast. The name of the book is The Talent Code. It's a phenomenal book about just realizing how much work goes into what we often think as being talent. Let's see. Yeah, The Art of Learning is a great book as well. Again, I think really great in terms of theory, tends to fall short a little bit in terms of practicality, and I think there's some overgeneralizations that are made. But again, the theory is really good. I think you'll get some good ideas about it, about that. And let's see the other book. Yeah, I'm playing on the other day of the book. It'll come to me eventually. Okay, so then what books have had the biggest impact on my life? That's a really interesting question. I really loved The Alchemist. Years ago, I kind of got a little bit more, I don't know, it just kind of opened my eyes to some of the spiritual side of the world and what might be around. I wouldn't say that. Yeah, I mean, biggest impact is tough. I think there's been a lot of books that have impacted my life. I mean, that was certainly one. There were some college textbooks in terms of understanding, cognitive psychology and neuropsychology that really opened my eyes to ways in which our brain operated and ways in which we think and learn. The architecture of that stuff has impacted me. I think there's been some biographies that I've loved. The biography of Steve Jobs I thought was really inspiring. And the book just turned into a movie, Unbreakable, was really powerful. I tend to like nonfiction type books about people. I do read a little bit of fiction, but it tends to be on the less of a priority for me. Who is my idol and who motivated you the most? That's really unclear. I don't think I've really ever been somebody who's like idolized somebody, who has always looked up to somebody. I think, there always have been important like kind of mentors in my life. I mean, clearly, like my parents have been very impactful. I've had lots of good teachers in my life, and I think I've tended to be very self-driven. It's hard to say though, because I had a very good upbringing. My grandfather was a successful business person, as was my father. So I think to a certain degree, subconsciously just aspiring to be able to be successful like they were, I'm sure was in there, although it wasn't necessarily something that's always conscious. But yeah, I'd say family members probably have been the one who've been most motivating for me. Okay, just checking the chat, make sure there's nothing else in there. Okay, next question comes from Alex. When I start the day off well, I often seem to cut short sessions in order to book the day's win. This is especially so if I've been on a bad run recently. So, for example, if in my first 30 tournaments I run at 100 CEV a game, I often seem to quit at that point, mean to play another session, but then get scared and don't do it. How do I stop doing this? Okay, so I'm going to say something general and then get to this question. But when we talk about problems like this, the answer to the question, how do I stop doing this, begins with another question, which is, why is that problem even here? What's the cause of it? Right? So it's very, very common for people to look at problem solving. And I mean that very, very specifically. Right? My job is really a problem solver. Right? The problem might be I'm not playing my A game enough, or I want to control my A game more often, or I'm having tilt, or I'm having focus issues, or I'm having this particular problem. But when you look at it from a problem-solving perspective, very often people jump too quickly into problem-solving mode before they really understand what the heck the problem is. And so in this case, right, it seems like, you're booking wins, but the question is why, right? Now, my guess is that there's some fear involved, right? Fear is mentioned, but that's not your question, Alex. Okay, whatever. Still a question, not Alex's question. Got it. But the question becomes, why is it happening? Fear, but what's causing the fear? Is there a confidence issue? Is there a fear of not achieving long-term results? Is there added pressure because of short-term needs for money? Is there like a loss of confidence that's coming because the losing is affecting or causing some doubt? I mean, I think you want to be looking at those answers. And so the answer to this question and the answer to any question that is similar to it of how do you stop doing this, you stop it first by understanding why it's happening. And so you start asking yourself those why questions after your sessions, taking notes about what's going on in your head, and really trying to understand the root of the problem. And once you do that, then you're in a better position to actually solve it. So let's assume, for example, that the bad run has caused some loss of confidence. All right, so the loss of confidence could be tactical. Right, there might be some misinterpretations of variance, and so the thing that needs to get cleaned up or corrected would be a more realistic understanding of variance and how 30 tournaments. I mean, obviously that's just happening in one day, but let's even say it's been 1,000 tournaments, and I don't know the exact numbers on spins, but there's, in general, an overestimation as to what's possible, what's not possible with variance in the short term, meaning people tend to underestimate what can happen and underestimate the likelihood that it could happen to them. So there's probably some cleaning up that needs to go on in terms of really understanding the predictability that you could have a bad run like that, given your given win rate or ROI. So that's number one. Number two is there's probably some weaknesses that have gotten exposed, right? You've probably made some mistakes that might not otherwise have been made. So maybe there's been some tilt, or there's been some frustration, or there's been some low-level doubt that has contributed to some technical problems. So you actually want to start working on those as well, right? Not just the technical problems, but the doubt or the frustration that's been building over time too, because that's going to make it easier for you to make really bad mistakes. And then if you're working on the technical side, then it becomes easier for you to fight up against the doubt and the frustration, even if you haven't corrected that. So the point is, you can shore up your confidence by better understanding variance, better understanding why your game degraded to this point, and actually shore up some technical mistakes as well.
My question goes to our value system and motivation. In my opinion, one of the largest difference between good and top players is the feeling about poker when they wake up. They are waking up to spend the day on playing tournaments and can't wait to be on the table to outplay their opponents. The feeling when you'd rather finish sleeping sooner. Obviously, you can't sustain the feeling all 365 days in a year, but the more the better. In your experience, what is the best way to cook this powerful mix of love to the game and motivation?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, so I'm assuming that there is already a love of the game that exists, because there are certainly people who have coached who, for whatever reasons, they just have kind of fallen out of love with the game, or it was never really there. They just saw it as a better opportunity and something that they could make more money from than something than another job, and so they're just doing it. And I think in those cases, there's just no way to generate it. So, or generate enough of it to equal what other people have. But I think very often you can cook this stuff up the better that you understand sort of the full nuances of why you love the game. So you could answer that question directly. Why is it that you love poker? What is it that you love about it? Why do you love those things? And really try to understand sort of the depths of what you get from the game, why it kind of resonates with you. Is it the challenge of it? Is it the opportunity to compete? The intellectual challenge for it. Clearly, the money can be a value as well. What the money provides, it provides freedom, it provides opportunity, it provides a way of realizing a level of success that you couldn't elsewhere. Really trying to understand kind of the whys, and the same thing goes for motivation. So you might have certain goals in mind for poker, but understanding why those goals are important to you is a way of generating that extra kind of juice or inspiration, motivation, et cetera, that can, I think, cook you up a nice mixture.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
When I'm working besides table, I'm seeing my mistakes, but I can't take my knowledge and transfer it to playing for 100%. How should I fix it? That's a common one.
Yeah, that's a common one, and it has to do a lot with the thing that I have already said, that we have these two parts of our brain, and this our prefrontal cortex. This is part of the brain that is responsible for applying new knowledge, applying new type of concepts that you are learning on during coachings and so on. For example, if somebody will wake you up, okay, I wanted to say 2 in the morning, but probably most of the players don't sleep. Let's say somebody will wake you up at 8 in the morning, and let's say you are very tired, sleepy, and so on, and you will have a very simple decision. Let's say it's this first round of spins, 2 players go all in, and you have deuce 7 offsuit. You say fold, okay? It's very, very simple. But if you will have more complex decision, for example, in cash games, it will be a decision that will require to analyze previous trades. It will require to analyze stats from pre-flop. You need to, for example, take into consideration your opponent calling range pre-flop, his free bet range. You need to analyze that. Okay, yeah, he's free betting that, and so he's calling. You need to analyze many things. So probably if somebody will wake you up 8 in the morning, you will not be able to do that.
okay, because your brain still like didn't start working. And the thing is that when emotions come to play, you shut up this part of the brain that is responsible for applying new knowledge, for logical thinking, planning, thinking about consequences, and so on and so on. And because of that, it's harder for you to apply that knowledge. So you can do actually two things. The first thing is, of course, session preparation. You need to, as you mentioned in the previous, in your previous question, you said that you start the session when you are not fully ready, concentrated, and so on. So your session preparation must be better. That's the first thing. And the second thing is that research showed that one of the ways to overcome this problem is to be more focused on the future, because our this limbic system, this emotional part of the brain, is focused on here and now. Right here, I lost $50. Okay, I lost 100. I got cooler. Right here, right now, I feel angry, and so on. And you need to just get rid of that thinking and think about the long run. So you can write down on a piece of paper a question and ask yourself whole session, what will be the best decision in the long run? Because when you will start thinking about the long run, you will start this part of the brain, prefrontal cortex, that is responsible for implementing new knowledge, for strategical thinking, and so on. So it may seem like, okay, everybody says that, okay, let's think about the long run. But this simple question, it starts the right part of your brain, and it will help you to be less emotional and more rational.
Okay, that's it. The next one comes from our coach and the judge, Waffle Bubble. So my question is about session length and how to extend them. I don't have fixed session length. Every time I listen to myself and adjust. But most often I'm playing very short sessions, like 40, 45 minutes, which is not optimal because it takes long time to close all tables and go to rest. So I would like to ask you about any long-term tips or every session tricks to extend my average session length.
Okay, my first question to Waffle Bubble will be, why do you play so short session? Because I don't see an explanation here.
I think that that comes from being emotionally tired by playing, or I don't know. That gotta be it. Like he probably feels tired about like after like a session that short, or
I mean,
maybe he. Go ahead.
that's very important, because research show that our brain works in cycles, and the most optimal cycles for our brain is to work like for 90 to 120 minutes, so 1.5 to 2 hours, and then to make yourself around 20 minutes break. Of course, poker players, with time, they can adjust and be more focused when playing longer sessions. But 45 minutes, it's definitely too short. If you would write 90 minutes, I would say, no problem, leave it. It's fine, okay? Play 90 minutes, make half an hour break, and then play another session. But 45 minutes, it's definitely too short. Usually, people rather want to extend sessions when they play, for example, 2 hours, and they want to start playing 3-hour sessions. Okay, so in this case, I would recommend to do it gradually. So let's start from 2 hours and 5 minutes, then 2 hours, 10 minutes, and so on. Because this way you build habits and you prepare your brain and your focus and your muscles of focus and self-control and so on to this effort. But in this case, I would definitely ask you, why do you play so short sessions? Because there are some players who are so-called perfectionists. They want to play perfect poker, okay? They want to be just fully focused, play my A game, and then I quit.
Mm-hmm.
And it's fine, but sometimes you need to negotiate with yourself and find some sort of balance between playing your A game and money and profitability. Okay, let's talk about players who make Supernova Elites. I think you did that in the past, yes?
A couple of times, yeah.
Okay. I know that it's different in tournaments and in sit and goes because you have the very high rate. But in general, in cash games, when people are making Supernova Elites, they kind of agree that they will play worse than normally because it will require from them 10 hours of playing a day. And it's pretty obvious that a player who is playing, let's say, 4 or 5 hours a day will be better focused and he will play a game more often and the quality of his game will be better. So this is a kind of like negotiation. Okay, I agree that, let's say, my win rate is 4 big blinds per 100, but I will achieve this year. I will be break even, but I will get Supernova Elite, and I'm aware of that. And let's like switch the perspective, and let's say you want to play perfect poker, your best A game, etc. And it may occur that during a year you will be able to play, let's say, in cash games, 50,000 hands. It's nothing. Okay, 50,000 you can do within 1 month. But then you play 20 minutes. Okay, I switch off. I feel a little bit like demotivated, tired, and so on. So I would definitely ask myself if this is if this is not the case that that somebody wants to play just perfect poker all the time, and a matter also of kind of negotiation with yourself.
Yeah, I think you're on the spot in here, and that might be the issue in here, to be honest, Waffle, because like these short sessions, 40, 45 minutes, gotta be made to play like your A plus or A game, right? But still, realizing the fact that Lech Rumsky just mentioned, that playing your B game or your C game makes you a bunch of money. When you're making a break, you are not making money. And I don't know. I think that I made bags of money by playing my B game and my C game when I technically could take a break to get to the point where I'm going to play way better, right? This should be a matter of, like, in my case, that worked, like figuring out how to get your B game and C game closer to A game, like make them more profitable, like tilt less, be less tired during the session. Figure out some exercises like looking through the window for I don't know, even 10 seconds. If you got a break on the table, let's say. So yeah, all these things actually goes to a point where you should figure out how to get your B game and C game closer to A game and stop breaking sessions so short when you're gonna be like making one slip play and you're gonna go like, oh no, okay, I'm taking a break. I'm taking a break because I made one crappy play, let's say. What do you think about it, Lehu?
Yes, sure, and also I can say that it's a pity that I don't know exactly like strategy that is in this spin and go tournaments, but I can say that, but you will definitely be able to relate that to spins. In cash games, it's like this. If you have figure out your game very well, you know exactly how to play your range in in every spot, you will not really suffer from playing C game, because anyway you know that, for example, okay, in this spot I'm C betting ace king, ace jack, ace queen, and ace 10 if I have backdoor flush draw, and rest of these hands I'm check calling, these hands I'm check folding, and so on. If you have your game very well figured out, then even if you will play your C game will not be really much different from your A game. However, if you based fully on exploitation and you adjust your game on the fly, okay, I see that he has done this, okay, so now I will adjust my game like this, then when you play your C game, your game will be really much, much worse, because you will not be able to use that information that you usually are able to gain from your opponent's notes and adjusting to their styles and so on.
Yeah, as Rufus mentioned on the chat here, that spins are very energy-consuming type of poker, because you have to play every high VPAP 90%, especially if you play 4 tables plus, and that's true. The format of a game is very short itself. Plus, the player pool the players that you're going to be playing is generated randomly. So it's really hard to compare it strictly to a cash games where you're playing versus like static player pool kind of. You table select, you open a couple of tables and play them for an extended period of a time, right? In spins, it is a little bit more energy consuming. That's true. That's a good point.
Yeah, if it's more time consuming, then I would say that it can make a lot of sense to play like this 90 minutes and then make a break. But still, in my opinion, professional poker players should be able to like stand this 90 minutes of full concentration and playing his A game. If it is too hard for somebody, then maybe it's good to look for some other reasons beyond poker, like lifestyle, like exercising, like food, and so on. Because 90 minutes like shouldn't be a problem, especially if these are fast sessions. For example, if you are playing 5 sessions during a day, then if you have problems with concentration during 4th or 5th session, then it's fine. I would agree, okay, make this session shorter. But if this is like first, second session, it shouldn't be a case.
Yeah, I especially love the advice where you mentioned to gradually like add 5 minutes and get up to the point where you can easily be playing like 90 minutes. That should work. Before the session, we did out our routine: coffee, shower, walk, meditation, etc. Theoretically, everything is okay. We are starting session, but our feeling isn't good. Concentration isn't on a high level. Decision on tables aren't optimal. What now? That's the question. That's the first part of the question.
Tonko said that session, but our feeling isn't good, concentration isn't on high level. And then he said that before the session he did the routine. If the concentration is not on the high level and if the feeling is not good, then it means that routine simply was wrong. Because the aim of the right pre-session routine is to put us in an optimal state when we are playing our best, when we are playing our A game. For example, I will show you this. I prepared for you some graphs. I will paste them on chat. This is a graph coming from Mental Game of Poker by Jared Tendler. So anyway, the aim of pre-session routine is that you will play your best, your A game. So this levels here on this graph like +2, +3. the aim of this is to put you in that optimal state. Doing that is, of course, it's not that easy. If it was, you probably wouldn't ask that question. We can distinguish two levels, like very basic, very simple level, and like more complex. Unfortunately, today we don't have time to discuss the more complex level, but on a very simple level, you have so-called Yerkes-Dodson law. You can open the second graph that I have just pasted in the chat. And this graph, it shows the relation between emotional arousal and your performance. And you can see that there is a level of emotional arousal, there is a level of your motivation, of your confidence when you are playing your best, when you are playing your A game. So the aim of pre-session routine is to find that level when you are playing your best. For example, when it comes to self-confidence, let's say that we will judge self-confidence from 1 to 10. It's pretty obvious that if your self-confidence is very low, 1, you are not playing your best, you are playing terribly, playing too weak, and so on. But probably if your self-confidence is on a scale from 1 to 10, it's 10, probably you're also not playing your best, because maybe you are too self-confident. And if you are too self-confident, you may lack a little bit of concentration. You may be too emotional and so on. And because of that, it's hard for you to make the best decisions. So, for example, you will find out, and then there's a question how to find it out. For example, you can make a so-called session diary. And before every session, you can write down how do you feel. Let's say you can evaluate your emotional arousal from 1 to 10. And then after the session, you can take notes. How did you play from 1 to 10? What was your mindset? What was your concentration? Don't guess. You have to do that exercise, because otherwise you'll never find out. And then after, let's say, 20 or 30 sessions of writing down these notes, you'll find out, okay, my level when I'm playing my best is on a scale from 1 to 10 is 8. And then you need to design this pre-session routine in the way that you will achieve that level 8. So now, coming back to your question, Tomko, you say, our feeling is not good, I'm doing coffee, shower, walk, meditation, etc. The aim of this preparation to session is not to only do a list of things. Okay, you drink coffee, you go for a walk, you have shower, meditation, it's fine.
All these routines, right?
Yes, and then you need to ask yourself, how do I feel on a scale from 1 to 10? And then let's say you feel 5. You cannot start the session, because the aim of routine is not just to do all those things, but to achieve that level when you are playing your best. So then you need to prepare some additional exercises that will put you in that optimal state when you will be playing your best. I mean, it may sound a little bit complex, and all these procedures are a little bit time consuming, but the results are great. And I think that's one of the most important things that you can do for your mental game.
Sure. I think this is excellent answer, actually. But what do you think about, like, should you figure out all these additional routines kind of on the fly when you are, let's say, you are lacking in your head like 2 points to the optimal level, right? And should you like just on the fly figure out something that's going to put you out there and a little bit experiment with it, or have like backup list of routines that you can use at the very moment?
Definitely you have to prepare that in advance, because on the fly you will act upon emotions, and you may not be able to find the best way to increase your level, for example, of self-confidence. So let's say that you don't feel self-confident enough before the session, because this is like what I just explained is like the very basic level. On the more complex level, you are analyzing a few different emotional states. So you're aware that when you are playing your best, for example, your self-confidence needs to be 8, your calmness needs to be 7, your motivation needs to be 6, and so on. You need to combine a few things. It's more complex, but it gives better results. And for example, the best sportsmen work exactly this way. But you need to prepare them in advance. For example, if you lack a little bit of motivation, you can prepare like your favorite motivational video, and then you sit and watch it on YouTube, and it increases your motivation, okay? Or you think about your future goals, your plans, and what would you spend the money from poker on, etc.
Okay, perfect answer. I mean, I got nothing to add in here pretty much. The next question comes from one of the SmartSpin founders, Kill You If You Play. What books about mindset/psychology are you recommending to read? Obviously, besides your upcoming book, because this one is must read.
Okay, I have prepared the list. Here you can find it on a chat.
Okay.
First book is Carol Dweck Mindset. This is about creating this growth mindset. It's creating right attitude. Fantastic book, really great. Power of Habit. It's about creating habits. It's about all scientific researches when it comes to creating habits, and like our whole life is built of habits, so it's also very important book. Then Focus, this is a very good book about concentration. A little bit complex, but it contains a lot of important information that can help you to be more focused during the game. Then you have some other books. I also recommend some poker mental game books that, in my opinion, are great, like Poker Mindset and both books of Jared Tendler, who I really respect a lot. And last book on the list is something that I recently found out. There was some very good, very detailed research about research that compared habits of poor and wealthy people. This research were done for like 3 years, and then they were analyzed for like almost 7 years, and they show over 300 differences between poor and rich people. The methodology of this research is really great, and you can find that in this Tom Corley book, Rich Habits, The Daily Success Habits of Wealthy Individuals.